Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in today to episode 12 of the Undiscovered Games video podcast, where we take a look at the lesser-known board games of the world and share those with you. Now, today I'm just going to focus on this expansion set for the Pillars of the Earth. Now, the Pillars of the Earth is a classic board game that's been around since 2006, and I still know a lot of people who play this. I play this quite a bit, and it's been in my collection for many years. However, the undiscovered game here is the expansion set, which is this left side of the board here with all this extra stuff on it. Now, I didn't even know there was an expansion to this game until a couple years ago, and once I learned about that, I had to track it down and try it out. So this expansion came out in 2007 and was never reprinted. So that's why a lot of people don't even know it exists, and it is pretty hard to find it. So I just wanted to make a video focusing on the expansion so you can decide if it's worth tracking down. So this is not going to be a video about the Pillars of the Earth as a game. I'm going to be assuming that you already know about the base game, how it plays, and things like that. So I'm just going to look at what comes with this expansion set and how it plays differently than the base game. And then hopefully, if you're thinking about getting the expansion, you can decide after watching this video if it's worth tracking down. You can still find the expansion, it's just going to be a little expensive because it's so rare. So what comes with the expansion? Well, first you're going to see white and orange player pieces, which means this game can now play 5 or 6 players instead of just 2 to 4. There's some slight rules changes with 5 and 6, but they're very easy to understand. You also get a lot of new cards to mix in, which just adds a ton of variety to this game, and I love all the cards you get. First, you're going to see 4 new event cards, 2 good ones and 2 bad ones. One of them says, beginning with the start player, remove one of your master builders from the board. Ouch. Another one says, in the next round, all privilege cards have no effect. And these just get mixed into the regular event deck, and they may or may not come up. Now, the good events are pretty good. One lets you carry as many resource cubes into the next round as you want. Usually you're limited to 5 on that. And the other one just gives you points for your mixers and masons. It gives you some new cubes so you don't run out. And then it has this starting card that you mix in, the resource card, which gives you 1 sand for sending 1 worker to the gravel pit. And that one little new card is very tempting, I will tell you. Then you have all the new privilege cards, which get mixed in with the other privilege cards. And the top left card there has to go on the bottom of one of the decks, which the rulebook explains very easily and clearly. I'm not going to go over every single card, but you can push pause and read each one. They're very simple to understand, and the rulebook does clarify any confusion you might have. Some of these are one-time use, some of these are recurring, just like the regular privilege cards from the base game. So just more variety there. And then we have more variety with our craftsmen. We get 2 new craftsmen for each level. So that's 12 new craftsman cards to mix in with the regular cards and come out various ways throughout the game. It just adds so much more variety to this game, and it makes all the difference. The apprentice card there is pretty cool. He lets you up your conversion rate by 1 level. So like if you can convert things 2 times, he would let you convert things 3 times, and you can apply him to a new craftsman each round. So that one's a cool one. A lot of these are just various ways to convert things into points, which is what your craftsmen are used for. And the rulebook does a great job explaining all these cards in detail. Now, when you play with 5 or 6 players, it's important to note you add 1 more craftsman to the draft pile at the beginning of each round. So normally you only have 2 craftsmen that you could draft. With 5 or 6 players, you have 3. So the game does a really good job scaling up to 5 or 6 players, and I'll show you some other ways it scales here in a minute. Now, if that was all that came with the expansion, I would be happy with it. But that's not all that comes with the expansion. As you can see, you get this entirely new game board that fits perfectly onto the left side of the original board and continues that beautiful scenery out to the west even more. And this board gives you 4 new worker placement locations for your master builders to go to. And then you have this area called the Crusades, which I'll show you in just a second, as well as a place to store your blue metal resources there in the King's Ore mine. So this board just visually makes the game look even better on the table. The Crusades here are places that you can put your little worker guys at the beginning of each round when you're drafting cards. Normally you can only put them here like in the gravel pit or in the quarry, but now instead of drafting a card, you can commit your little guys to the Crusades over here and score victory points. So if you put 3 guys there, you get a point and you claim that spot. Nobody else can go there. So if anybody else wanted to go to the Crusades, they would have to go to this spot, which is, 4 guys for a point. Or if you wanted, 2 points instead, you could commit 6 of your little workers here to score 2 points. And, that works the same way. And above that is another spot for 7 workers to get 2 points. So that's just another option for your little worker guys. Now let's take a look at these 4 new worker placement locations on the board. So first we're going to look down here at the tax collector. Now the tax collector is just basically an extension of the King's Court there. So if you want to be tax exempt, usually you'd have to go to the King's Court. Well, now you could go to the tax collector instead. And what this does is whenever we roll the die for the tax, this player actually gets to collect the money that's rolled for the die. So not only does that protect you from paying taxes, but you're gonna earn anywhere from 2 to 5 gold, which is great. Up here at Shiring lets you take the privilege card that's showing there. Those just come up randomly, except now with the expansion, you have to set up the game with these lightning bolt cards as well as the one-time use cards. So at the beginning of the game, you're gonna separate those privileges that have the lightning bolts and the one-time symbols there at the top, make their own deck, and those will always come out at Shiring. Whereas the permanent abilities with the infinity symbols at the top will always be at Kingsbridge. So it's kind of cool when you're looking at the board because, if you look over at Kingsbridge, you always know those are going to be the permanent abilities with, the infinity symbol. So if you want one of those, you can look over there. Or if you want a one-time use card, you can look over at Shiring and know that those are all going to be those cards. So it's kind of a nice way to separate those and visualize the game a little better. Now let's look up here at the coast. The coast lets you sell goods at the prices shown. Now if you notice, these prices are 1 coin better than where you normally sell goods over here at the market. Not only are they 1 coin better, but you can also mix and match resources to sell. The market, you can only sell one type. At the coast, you can sell any combination of goods at better rates. So that's a great spot to get money. Over here at France, you place your worker and you get this card. Now this card is always going to be there and it returns at the end of the round whether you use it or not. And what this card lets you do is reuse one of your own craftsmen or use an opponent's craftsman, but you have to do it at -1 capacity. And what that means is, if you had, say your opponent had this card here, it does it 2 times, you can only convert it once. Or 4 times, you can only convert it 3 times. So you just take one off the level of conversion, but it's still very powerful, especially if your opponent stole that one craftsman that you were hoping to get or something like that. Now let's look at the top row here. This only applies if you're playing with 5 or 6 players. And once again, the game does a nice job of scaling this up for higher player counts. Notice how there's one of each builder placed above this track. That means you're only going to place 2 of your 3 builders in the bag. And again, this only happens in a 5 or 6 player game. But the bag drawing mechanism is still exactly the same. Now we proceed to draw our builders out of the bag and decide whether we want to pay the cost to place them on the board. So let's say blue passes, orange passes, but now let's say green is wanting to pay the 5 coins to place their worker on the board. So they pay their 5, they place their builder onto the board. Now, as soon as you place your first builder onto the board, that's when you look up onto the track and place this guy onto the farthest space to the right. Now in a 6-player game, you'll start on the 6. In a 5-player game, you'll start on the 5. Now I realize there are some builders out there on the board from my previous example, so just ignore those. All you need to know is whenever you place your builder onto the board for the first time, that's when you go up here and place him over here on the farthest spot to the right. You always fill in from the right to the left, and there's always going to be one of each color on that new track up there. So fast forward, this phase is going to happen exactly the same as it used to. These all get cleared out, and as soon as all the builders are placed on the board, now you look up at this new track and place these builders starting at the 1. So red gets to place first on any open spot as usual, then yellow, then orange, and so on. And these are all free placements. You don't have to pay any gold to place those. So that's the biggest rule change for 5 to 6 players, and I really like it. I mean, it balances out the luck a little bit. You still have the excitement of the bag draw with your first 2 builders, but then you have the sure thing of your 3rd builder up on that track. So this is easily a 10 out of 10 for the expansion because, first of all, just look at that board on the table. I mean, when you add that extra game board on the side there and it expands the artwork over to the left, it just adds so much to the table presence. It was already a pretty game on the table, and now it's just so much prettier and bigger. And when you sit at the table, you really feel, immersed in this world of Kingsbridge. So the visual appeal is huge, but most importantly, the gameplay improves with the expansion. You get all this new variety without having to learn a bunch of new rules. It doesn't overcomplicate the game. When you play with the Pillars of the Earth expansion, you don't even realize the expansion's there. It blends seamlessly into the base game. You mix all the cards together and whatever comes out, but you don't even know which cards are from the expansion. They don't feel like extra or new cards. They just feel like part of the original game, and I love that. Finally, as someone who's been a fan of this game for quite some time, the idea that I can now play this with 5 or 6 players is so cool because I never thought that was possible, before I learned about the expansion. The game actually works really well with 5 and 6. It just takes longer, but if you're a fan of the game like I am, then that won't bother you. So the $1 million question is this expansion essential? And this might surprise you because I rated it a 10 out of 10, but I would not consider this an essential expansion because you can still enjoy the Pillars of the Earth many, many times over without ever playing the expansion, because I've done it. I've had the Pillars of the Earth in my collection for many years without even knowing the expansion existed. So in that regard, I don't consider it essential. However, I can make you a guarantee that if you like the Pillars of the Earth at all, you will like the expansion. And I can't make guarantees like that very often in board gaming, so you can take that however you want. Basically, I just wanted to create a video that focused on the expansion, so if you're on the fence, hopefully this helps you decide one way or another whether or not to get this. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you click subscribe on the channel and like the video, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and share this video with all your friends. That really helps my channel to grow. As long as my subscribers are growing, I'm going to continue to make videos like this focused on these lesser known board games that we all get to discover together. So join me, click subscribe, and if you want to support the channel even more, there's a PayPal link in the description. You can donate any amount you want to, and that just helps keep this channel alive. It helps me continue to find these lesser known games and share them with you. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you on the next video.